So, friends, this is a carbon accounting course, and we would be covering very interesting topics in this course, which are mentioned on the screen. I will detail out what exactly we are going to cover in this 7 modules. The module 1 is the introduction to carbon accounting, wherein we would learn about the fundamentals, especially what do you understand by greenhouse gases and its relation to global warming. We would also discuss in brief why carbon accounting is required for sustainability and how is carbon accounting different from the financial accounting. I would highlight the role of engineers as well as managers in tackling these emissions, in reducing these emissions, and an overview of ESG and sustainability would be provided. So that would be the module 1, introduction to carbon accounting. The module 2 would be on the GHG protocol, which is basically an internationally recognized greenhouse gas protocol used widely in carbon accounting. In this, we would be talking about scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. By scope 1 emissions, we would talk about direct emissions. Direct emissions means the emissions arising from the industry directly because of some process happening in the industry or because of some combustion happening in the industry. Scope 2, these are the emissions which would be discussed, which would include the emissions arising outside the industry but attributed to the industry because the industry actually uses electricity which requires which has some carbon footprint. Steam, maybe if steam is imported, heating and cooling. And the scope 3, all the other indirect emissions, both upstream and downstream activities would be included. It means scope 3 is scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 would be a in toto analysis of emissions. So the key concepts like system boundary, data collection methods, emission factors and the sources, those would be discussed in my module 2, which is GHG protocol and emission scopes. The module 3 is on the calculation techniques, wherein we would be doing some specialized calculations like calculating the emissions arising from transport, arising from the refrigerant leaks, the emissions analysis from the activity data. We would look into what is called as the emission factor, and we would also calculate the emissions arising from the use of grid based emission and renewable energy. So this module will be a very specific module and very practical module because it would involve extensive tutorials and examples to build proficiency in emission calculations through real world examples. Module 4 is an introduction to what is known as a holistic assessment or a life cycle assessment. The life cycle assessment would be touched upon, wherein the scope would be defined, the inventory would be defined, the assessment would be done, and based on that assessment, some findings would be reported. That is, the data would be interpreted. So we would be looking into the key methodologies, that is life cycle inventory development, life cycle impact assessment, and the hotspot analysis and interpretation. So that would be the module 4. It would be basically a comprehensive evaluation of the emissions. Module 5, we would try to cover the carbon accounting for certain specific cases, very relevant cases like buildings and HVAC systems, or some industrial processes involving manufacturing, or some chemical industry, power plants, EVs, that is electric vehicles, cold chains, or some carbon footprint of some campuses. So, all in all, we would be talking about very real life applications for carbon accounting. That would be module 5. And the module 6 would discuss about the need of intervention, that is, improving the efficiency, integrating the system with renewables, trying to recover as much waste heat as possible through cogeneration, and using innovative techniques like heat pumps for heating, cooling, electric vehicles for transport, and transition to alternative green refrigerators, as well as behavioral strategies. By behavioral strategies, we mean we bank not only on the technologies but also on the operational optimization, user awareness, and demand side management. Module 7 would be on the markets. We know that the carbon markets are being established, and hence we need to have an understanding of the carbon credits, carbon offsets, the carbon tax and emission trading, and the policy environment wherein such carbon markets are either incentivized or disincentivized, its impact on the trade. Uh, Finally, we would look into the sustainability reporting frameworks followed by the corporates, which might include ESG report or the business responsibility and sustainability reporting. So, all in all, we would try to make this carbon accounting course really comprehensive and useful for the practicing engineers as well as managers from the industry. Thank you.